Welcome to Marriage Talk Season 4. Join us as we discuss the differences between men and women. We are privileged to host Pastor Tim and Pastor Judy. And for the very first time on Marriage Talks, Pastor Bonnie and Pastor Geraldine. And our very own Pastor Peter and Pauline Kamau. This is Marriage Talks, where our marriages must come to a rest.
I understand your frustration, Pastor, because I think when you're a visionary and a manager, both of them, and there's a place for each and every one. There's a place because a manager needs a visionary, and a visionary needs a manager. But most of the time, sometimes they think that this one is going too fast, and the other one thinks this one is slowing me down. But nevertheless.
And actually, to add on that, it used to bring a lot of conflict in our marriage. Because I felt, can't you see? Is it that you don't want us to succeed? But actually, it is later I realized actually she's helping me because actually at the end of the day with a big vision, at least even the longest journey started with a single step. So she was the one who was organizing the small steps towards that. But before I thought she was not supporting me.
And so wisdom here is the patience to work together. Wisdom here is the patience to understand each other. Wisdom here is to understand strengths and weaknesses and how they complement each other and how we can marry them for the success of our marriage, for the success of our family, for the success of our business, for the success of our daily endeavors, So, wisdom marries into so many other things. There are so many components, like Pastor Peter said, that feed into wisdom. There is kindness, there is humility, there is submission, So that is wisdom. Then applying them and putting them into application and being very intentional about it, because it can be quite frustrating when you're trying to, when sometimes you keep on saying, I keep on doing this thing over and over again, it doesn't seem to be working. But if you come to peace with yourself and realize, actually, I'll never be able to change Peter, to be able to have all his shoes in a straight line. No, I'll find them somewhere like a heap amount. So it's up to me to be making sure they are organized. And he likes it because it's when he finds them organized, he picks them and he goes. But again, tomorrow I'll come back and find a big, huge mound. So does that mean that has to keep on irritating me every day? I keep on doing this, you don't appreciate it. It's a weakness. I can't change him, he can't change me. So let's work together. Let's work together.
I think there is that broken part of us, every one of us, even when we come to a relationship. And I like to say that I say this, I've said this before, is that when I come, because every one of us, we are coming from their family that we were raised in, they have affected us in different ways. And so before even thinking about changing me, understand. And when you understand it, there we get, people become empathetic. And then at the end of the day, if you are empathetic, then you can also be able to minister to that need. But let me throw this back to the story.
Let me just say this. So please, if you're out there and there are things that are irritating you about your spouse, and these are small things that are causing arguments that are unnecessary. Don't build on that. Don't let the small irritations be the ones that will come and become this big, huge mound that you need now again to bring down. Work with each other. Wisdom is understanding small irritations. Sometimes as pastors, you sit down, before you even hear the big major thing that happened, it started with small things. They go becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. Then they're out of control, But sometimes when you sit down and you break it down, it looks actually, you end up saying, actually, it's so small, we can work on this. Don't work on the whole thing. Let's start here. Let's break it down into different steps. And that is wisdom. Because if you go and attack this thing at once and you think you can be able to handle it, you won't. You will fail. But if you take it in small bits, small chunks, so don't let irritations build up. Deal with matters. Understand each other.
Pastor, if I may
pull an example from your illustration so
Yes.
that maybe we can help. How do you apply wisdom if you have a spouse who is poor in etiquette and maybe hygiene? Because you mentioned there are small things, but maybe they can be blown out of proportion. Yeah.
I think let me say this.
Etiquette and hygiene. Now, number one, when you got married to him, did you know that I once had Pastor Creflodola and he was preaching to singles and he said, please, sister, before you get married to that brother and then you come back and see me, you better know his relationship between water and soap. So, and it looks like something small.
Yeah, but you see, dating is a very controlled environment.
Yeah.
That is when the best food comes out.
That's it.
Comes forward, And there's things that, as you say, like a relationship with water and
soap.
I've had people complain about that. Maybe I've also had people say
poor hygiene in your spouse.
Yeah. And also maybe the way they eat, maybe they smack their mouth.
The way they snore.
Yeah.
Maybe they snore. You understand? But listen, I don't think you're going to write a book about your husband snoring.
No.
Obviously nowadays, as there are ways it can be handled.
Yeah, but I think as well, I think it's good to voice out your frustrations.
Yeah.
Let's say you are a homemaker, and your work is to take care of the children and the home and the husband, and you keep the house organized and everybody looking good. So if your husband always comes, throws everything everywhere, goes to the bathroom, leaves it in a mess, the children come do the same, at the end of the day, it looks like a hurricane went through the house. That woman will feel disregarded and like she doesn't matter, or what she does is not important. So that can breed resentment.
That's right.
And then later on contempt. So for that woman, if she's feeling frustrated because what she does is not appreciated, or maybe it's their nature, but unless she speaks out, they are not mind readers. They will never know, this is a real big issue for her. So it's better to speak out and say, guys, or please, when you go to the bathroom, make sure you don't leave toothpaste everywhere or whatever. In that way, and explain why. Because what she's not saying at that point, she's not frustrated because there's mess everywhere, but she's frustrated because she feels like she's being disrespected.
And her attempts
are
not being
realized.
Yeah.
I really love what you said to explain, because we're still going back to the story of Abigail. When you see how Abigail addressed David, he addressed him. She addressed him, and she said, she reminded David what his assignment is. He said, my Lord fights the battles of the Lord. The second thing he said, let it not be when my Lord assumed the office, he will be accused, paraphrasing it, that he shed the blood and he avenged for himself. Therefore, he used her words very, very carefully, and that's what arrested. What arrested David. You get what I'm saying?
So words are key. How do I bring out to my husband? Okay, honey. You talked about etiquette and hygiene. So these are practical things that can cause a lot of little arguments in the house. Number one, if you're a homemaker, you provide solutions. That's why you have laundry baskets. That's why you have a hook behind the bathroom or wherever it is that you hang the towel. Show them. Show them why they're there. Explain why the laundry basket is there. And find solutions and show them. And don't give up. That's why I was saying little irritations. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. Don't give up. Eventually, that person will get it. Some other battles, you will never win. They will never get it, Like if you expect me to find me in the garden tending to the flowers, I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. I leave it to him, and I'm very busy telling him, can you see that weed? and he's so nice, he never actually tells me, are you doing it? He just looks at me and continues doing it. So it's those things. If we don't talk, if we don't address it, if we don't give the why, if we don't show how, like that's how we train our children. We are the role models, we train them, and we pray that they will continue to follow what we have taught them. So wisdom is doing things practically. Don't get angered. If it happens today and it happens tomorrow and it happens the following day, in 2 years, 3 years, it takes a long time. 30 years, it takes a long time, And you say that, I've known Pastor Kamau and I know him very, very well. But we are going into another season of our life. I know him as a young man. I know him now as a middle-aged man, and soon he'll be an old man. So I pray that he'll not be an irritable old man,
That's I did. You hear what she said?
Maybe, and just to add on to what Pastor Pauline is saying, because I think when you go back to even God himself, he says, the scripture says that by wisdom he established the earth. So it is wisdom that helps him to know what to put in what places. It is by wisdom a house is built.
That's right.
And when it talks about a house being built in wisdom, it's not buying a house, but building a house. Which what you're saying is that learning to be patient, learning to bear, learning not to be easily angered.
That's it.
Because you also growing, or we are growing in virtue of patience as we are bearing with those little weaknesses. And like Pastor Kim is asking about etiquette, there are some things that we don't learn knowing.
We don't grow up.
We don't grow up knowing.
Like Pastor Bonnie said, or eating and you're smacking your lips, or maybe you never. There's a common thing, especially in African homes. I don't know, but in Kenya, we grow up eating with a spoon. Shock on you when you come to the UK, the spoon is not for eating, it's like for dessert. Or you have a special spoon for soup. But in my house, even those spoons, we still ate with them. And one time I was working somewhere and I took food to somebody and I took him a spoon. I was very new in the country. I didn't know he needed a fork and knife. So it's those things, that etiquette, those little things. If I didn't grow up knowing them, and now here we are, God has blessed us. We don't just eat it, we just don't go to McDonald's where you have a wrapper with a burger. You go and have a sit-down meal. So what next? How do we do etiquette, hygiene,
In Judges chapter 4, verse 4, I want to read you just a scripture. Now Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, was judging Israel at the time. And sorry for cutting you short. There's something Pastor Kamau mentioned that I don't want us to forget it. That Deborah was a prophetess, but she was also the wife of Lapidoth. So it means she was very senior, a very senior government official in Israel at that time. But nowhere do we learn, do we hear that her husband was any senior. How do we deal with wisdom when the wife has career-wise gone very far beyond the husband? Let's say, for example, chief executive. But the husband has a lower job than the wife. How do we apply wisdom in that disparity of career?
I think, Pastor, when you speak about Deborah, I think Deborah had about 4 or 5 hats. She had, and she was a judge. She was a wife. She was a mother, and she was a prophetess,
a warrior,
and
a psalmist.
And a psalmist, actually, 6 of them. All of those 6, those you can say about a career, a very successful career person, somebody who is also in the political arena, and you're also talking about somebody who is a mother, and you never
and
hear...
also not just political arena, in a very patriarchal system. Women were not really high up those days like today.
And that's where you see her wisdom. Like the time that when she arose, because the Bible says the time that she allows to be the leader, the Bible talks about the people were not walking in the street and are walking behind the backyard. And she said, I, Deborah, arose. So she saw a need. And actually, because at that time in Islam, a woman was not meant to be a ruler. And she rose and she occupied a space. But you see the wisdom of this lady, because even when she is provoking a man who was called Barak, she is saying, Barak, you go and fight, because actually she is taking the front head, but she's actually pushing Barak, because he's saying, when I go and I win, the fame will come to me. So she is not protecting a position. She is being led by national matters and the thing that matters. And I think that is wisdom. Because even when you come to the book of Hebrew, she is not mentioned, but who is mentioned is Barak. But Barak will never be Barak without Deborah. And that's what we actually, when we know our space and we know we are fitting in a bigger picture, when I fulfill this place, I fulfilled my part. I don't have to be on the throne, but I can be actually the one who make the king. You get what I'm saying? And that's where the wisdom comes in here.
So, I think to add on to what you're saying, when you have, like, for that family where the wife is a CEO, she's high ranking, she's very influential woman, maybe has a political position that places her very high, but the husband probably on a lower place. So I think it's good for that family to have clear defined roles, so that when they come together in their home setup, so what is her role in the home setup? Because she's not CEO in the home, MP, whatever, professor, doctor, in the home. So in the home, she's wife. And what is her role in the home setup as the wife? And once they have those clear defined roles from the beginning, then they are able to set boundaries. And it's very important for such a family, they set those boundaries and they define those roles, because there will be outside voices telling you, oh, why do you let her do this? Why do you let him do this? Why are you doing this? But once you have agreed, this is how our home runs, then that home, it doesn't matter whether the one is higher, there's peace and there's a harmony in the home. So I think it's important that they define each person's role in the home setup. And according to scripture, it's important that in their home the wife is submitted to the husband. Because if we disarrange the order of God because of the order of the world, then there will be conflict. So
the man needs to be very secure in himself.
Exactly.
Extremely secure, because what happens, I think, where we have seen problems from practical examples that we have seen in the church is when the man now starts getting insecure, or a woman now then thinks, I am better than him. Yet, in most scenarios, like here in the diaspora, actually it is the men who support their wives to become. For example, if she goes on and studies, gets her first degree, her second degree, things like that, the man walks alongside her all along. You'll find they share the childcare. You'll find even sometimes I've seen husbands who support even with that university coursework and the thesis, and they're actually very much involved in it. You'd think they are part of the course. So the thing is, then the men now feel, okay, I've supported her, I have worked with her, and now she's gotten to this place, and now she's bringing the hat that she wears out there into the home, what Pastor Geraldine is saying. So you don't bring that hat out that you're wearing out there into the home. For example, when I get home, yes, my husband is the priest of our home, and he is the head of our home, but I don't expect him to be pastoring me in the house, or that I'm going around addressing him as Reverend Kamau now, Reverend Kamau, and if I don't address him as Reverend Kamau,
that's been my prayer.
Never. You see, so I think having clear, defined roles, being secure, being secure in who you are, what you're doing. Don't allow competition to come in. Because now that is another thing that we have seen as pastors, where you see now competition. Okay, if she goes out and does this, I'll go out and do this. I will show you that I can be just as good as you. Now, it just becomes competition,
Let me just maybe add on that conversation. You still go back to the knowledge.
Yes.
If you look at, let's say, go to the corporate way. If you look at the big corporation, they already have planned what is going to happen next year. 5 years to come, they have a plan of what will happen in the next 5 years. They even have, they have the insurance in place. If there be any risk that may come in the next 5 years, they have done all those things. And I've realized, actually, if you ask me, one of the things that I've realized in marriage or in any relationship, the reason why most people fail is because we live by the day. What I mean by this is that we woke up, and I know it's good to, the worries of today is today. But I think if we, for example, if somebody is going back to school, I think it's good to have those defined goals and not assume, because one of the things that kills marriages or relationship is because of assumption. That I assume we are working this together. I assume that this is my duty. I assume, I thought you know. So, and I think that assumption is a killer of many relationships. So we need to be intentional in discussing this is how things are going to be. For example, my learned friend here, Pastor Tim and Judy, their son is no longer with them. I believe they have already planned maybe what are we going to do with this house, with this the room where my son used to be. Are you going to turn it into a gym? Are we going
it is our spare bedroom. Pastor Kamau announced that.
Are you turning it to a prayer center? So I'm saying this because once you're intentional in planning what's going to happen next, and those goals are written, and the plan that you have, there will be no that assumption. So, and this brings us now to having the family vision. And this is something that we started doing. We did it accidentally. We didn't know actually we were doing a family vision, but we ended up actually every beginning of the year we normally have maybe 4 or 5 days retreat together with my wife, whereby is a prayer retreat, yes, but actually we are going to write a vision of what is going to happen the next year. Before we used to do it in January, but now we are pushing it to earlier. Instead of doing it in January, we do it earlier. So this is what we are planning to do for next year. This is the vision that we are having. We are believing God for this. And also what you have done, also we have involved the children now.
Yes.
We have told them, write your vision. What do you want us to do as a family? So there's a vision that we have, me and my wife. These are the goals that we have. But then we have a vision together. Even the young one, we have told him, include what would you like us to believe God for as a family. So when you are doing this thing, we are going to celebrate together because it was part of the vision. Assuming now she want to go back to uni, assuming. I will support her because we discussed it as part of the vision. And even the children know that mom or me are going back to uni and we are going to celebrate together. So it's a family victory. It's not a personal victory. So, and then when you do these things intentionally, there's nobody who will feel, now that we have discussed, we are doing this together, I support you, the children support you. At the end of the day, and because it is written how we are going to do things, and it's important to write. Because I realized actually most of the things that we discuss with just the word of mouth, people say, I didn't say that, I didn't mean that. I've seen people say, actually deny in a broad daylight that that's not what you meant. But when it is written, it's not that you doubt, but when it is written,
and even forgetting, you can reflect, you can go back to that place. So, having said that, the most important thing is being intentional, and also reading books about how do you, and especially this should come for the person who is the CEO, who is higher ranking. If it is a woman, it is her being so much intentional of making sure that she does not create an atmosphere in the house where the husband or the children feel like, oh, mom nowadays is a CEO, she's a CEO here. So I think it is the duty of the one who is higher to dismount, and sometimes dismounting is not only
just by saying, but also being studious in understanding am I submissive enough? Am I submitting to my husband?
Bringing the balance.
Bringing the balance. So, and I believe that way we can have very, very successful marriage and also keeping your word.
Let me give an example here. There's something that is coming to mind following what you said, Pastor Tim, and I would want to hear your take on this because we are talking about wisdom. I know of 2 different families where the wives have been really supported by the husbands and the wives have gone on to become very successful in their careers and, high earners. And of course, it's a great blessing to the families, but the men are not where the women are. Now, these are 2 different scenarios. So one went and bought a car and another one went and bought a car. But one wife, when she bought the car, the car came home, she gave the key to the husband and said, you drive it. This is our car. But this other one, the lady said, no, this is my car. To the point that even when they're doing things, it's my car. You cannot drive my car. You cannot mishandle my car. You cannot take my car to go out and meet it's my car. Now this other one, it's our car, to the point that she has removed herself from this car. It's more like the husband's car. So who is right in this scenario? It is her car. She has worked for it and she's bought it. But do we have to agree when I'm going to buy this car, it is a family car?
I think that's what we're talking about, wisdom, honestly. Because no matter how we try to go about it, at the end of the day, it's a matter of wisdom.
Yes.
And how you deal with things. And maybe what women forget is that any time a man feels like he's not honored, it's not only affect the way he behaves,
that's it.
but even in the bedroom. That's why you find any sport that a man is doing, they have cheerleaders. Women do not need cheerleaders in their games. That's why you find when men do well when there's a cheerleader. When they are fans, they are cheered on. Football matches, hey, go Roy Kid, there's a you understand. So if a man feels that he's disrespected, and I'm not going to emphasize on this. We are talking about wisdom, not sex in marriage. But it will also affect them in the bedroom. And when it affects them in the bedroom, you realize maybe people may be thinking that maybe, my man is old, or maybe he's old. He's old, or maybe he's not. No, we have to speak these things because he may think that maybe my man is is not performing the way he used to perform when we were young. But listen, it's only that I cannot advise him to go to another place that you listen. But listen, if you begin to honor that man, even in the bedroom, things change because men, they perform where they are honored. And what I'm saying is that if somebody is taking that position of disrespecting, especially because of position, and especially as it's so amazing that when a man is broke, or when a man is of low earning, let's start with a man being broke. It affects them even psychologically. Because the way men are wired. I'm talking about men. A true man, when the man is broke in the pocket, even sex is not part of that. But give a man respect and let the man have the feeling that he's the father of the house, or he's honored to that point that he's making decisions. Even sometimes even I think men, we are not very complicated. I'm not. Are we? We are not complicated. Sometimes is that
just give us our honor.
Just give us that space of honor, and the rest things fall in place.
Yes. I think there is something that Pastor mentioned when he talked about wisdom. And one of the things we mentioned with Abigail is how you put a working plan in place. Because the wife may start up there career-wise because we are gifted differently. So the husband may not be that good in school, but the wife is good in school, and so the earning disparity is there. But then the issue is this a team?
That's it.
So if it's a team, then we need to have a working plan so that we know if the husband is not so good in books, but he can be good in business, Again, it falls back to vision. How do we put a vision to give him a second stream of income? Because at the end of the day, we want everybody to be allowed to improve. So we cannot improve one because they are good. For example, if we improve the husband because he's got a couple of degrees, how about by accident if he's no longer there and you did not take time to improve your wife or the children? Then you leave them very depleted of resourcefulness. But I think as a team, we need to give each other opportunity. If you're the husband and you're doing very well, let it be you are the carer of your wife. What are we doing about your business A, business B? Because we want you to be lifted up. So we have to have a workable plan of exit so that we move from one point to another point. And that can only be achieved if we work together.
And I think that's what Abigail, her mind was seeing far. So when she spoke to David, she did not speak to him with the challenge of the moment. She saw this. She saw what he was to become and where he was going. And her wisdom was, if you do this now, you have destroyed your whole future. And so that's the kind of wisdom that we should carry, even as wives and husbands. So what I'm doing now, will it take this family to the next generations successfully? Because like we said last time, we are not just doing it for ourselves. We are doing it for our children. Our children are sitting there watching. So what they are learning from probably that lady who is I don't know which one to use, not you, who feels that this is mine, it's not ours, it's no longer family. So what she's teaching her children is that when you get your money, it is your money. It's not our money. It's not the family money. I say what is going to be done with this money because it's my money. And so those children, when they marry, they will carry the same principle because that's what they observed in the home. And so I think it's good to have a vision for tomorrow. What are we are doing today? Is it going to build our families tomorrow? Where are we going to land tomorrow? Because what we do today determines where we will be tomorrow. And like Abigail, she saw David as the future king, even before he was crowned the king. And she saw that if he does this mistake, he's going to be spiritually with God, he's going to have shed innocent blood. And so that spiritually will disconnect him from his purpose. And she also saw other things that would follow, that would make people question his kingship. If that's how he deals with everyone who wrongs him. You understand? So I think so it takes marriage takes a lot of wisdom because it's hard work.
It is.